I hate you, and I hate geometry, and I hate this podcast.
Yeah, he's gonna jump off a cliff.
Hell yeah.
I'm sorry, this is probably so entertaining for people at home.
Hey, FBI, this guy has a bomb.
You are a fucking moron if you think a rectangle with no corners is a square.
They're bread rolls. They were so buttery and so delicious.
Audio listeners, I pulled my cock out.
Why is technology the way that it is? Like, whoever invented a freaking computer should just die, bro.
I can't believe Cole wants to kill Bill Gates and Steve Jobs.
Stop!
Yes.
They're already dead.
Well, in the case of Steve
Only
Jobs,
one.
yes, but Bill Gates is still very much alive.
You know, the thing
one.
about technology, Cole, is that technology is only annoying as long as you don't have money. The more money you have,
it's
the
like a
less
lot of
annoying
things
it
in life,
is.
honestly.
That's pretty much
A lot of things
in
in
general.
life are annoying unless you just
Have money.
have money.
Yeah, like you
Make
can
the
have so
problem
much
go
money,
away.
you can kill someone and get away with it. You know, O.J. Simpson.
Money?
Oh shit, I need to get more
Why?
money.
Wow, this got really... What the heck?
Yo, any Chris
Oh my
Brown
God.
fans in the chat?
Oh God, I hope not.
And I need you, boo.
Apparently
And
not.
With every kiss and every hug, you make me fall in love now. Give me the only one.
Goes my hero.
World tonight. I don't remember all the words. With you.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm singing Chris
I
Brown.
don't know.
I'm
we
listening
recording
to
a podcast
Nestani
now?
do his
Like-
best Nestani, his Chris Brown
My best
impression.
Nestani impression.
Nestani, yeah, your best Nestani impression.
Where's my best Nestani impression? Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. My name is Nestani.
What is a train?
Oh, my name is DECosmic.
I am Jaxler.
I'm Coley.
And we're so happy to be here with you all today at our proper recording time, not 48 minutes after our proper recording time, but are on time on our proper recording time. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
how is everybody's weeks? Like, oh my God, how is everyone doing?
I mean, this is the end of the trilogy, really. But
PMC
I started my
trilogy?
new job. No, but shout outs to PMC Trilogy. That's a great dude right there.
Yeah, I love
I started my new
PMC.
job this
What do you
week.
think the PMC stands for?
Oh, I know what it stands for, but
Pussy
I mean, I
Mountain
can't
Cock?
disclose
Like,
that.
what do you think it...
Well, YouTube's not recommending this video to anybody anymore.
I expected the first and the third letter. I did not expect mountain to be in the
Yeah, mountain.
That's damn.
You got some...
Oh
Damn,
boy.
Kendrick Lamar album. Kendrick Lamar deep cut right there.
So that's why he's married. Anyway.
Call back.
Oh man. But
Anyway.
yeah, so I mean, I started my new job this week, so that's pretty cool.
I'm sorry.
I've just mostly had no, it's been pretty all right so far. I've just been doing training
good.
mostly. Yeah. So everybody there seems pretty nice. What was not nice was having to drive like an hour to the corporate headquarters so that I could go and get my ID badge and then go to the branch that I'm
sucks.
training at. But
That sucks. I hate when you do
now
that kind of
the
shit.
now the location is like 10 minutes from my apartment. So
Oh shit. That's good.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
like,
okay, I guess.
we got out of there at like 5:30 and then I was home at 5:40 and I was like, all right, I can't really complain about that. Whereas before I'd be getting out at like 5:30 from my old job and then I'd be home like at 6. And I'm like, oh, well then. Apparently there's studies that show that if you knock like 20 minutes off of your commute, your like mental health significantly improves, or if you
I thought you were
add
gonna say
20
knock
minutes.
20 years off your life.
I
Yeah, if
don't-
you
I
knock
don't
20
need
years
a
off your life, your mental health significantly improves because you start to live every day like you're about to die.
People have been saying this.
Yes.
But
Yes,
also, if
they
you
have.
add 20 minutes to your commute, apparently that can also just like severely tank.
Well, I mean,
How you
yeah,
think about your
obviously. I
drive,
started
too.
working from
Yeah.
home 3 days a week, and that's way better than going
Yeah,
into work.
absolutely.
I love
Funny
that.
how that works.
Instead of driving
Do you
It's
like,
feel
crazy
like
how
you're
that
not as
works, yeah.
focused? Like, do you feel like you get as much work done, though?
at home,
Yeah.
I get more work done.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because I just work for like
Alright.
an hour or 2 hours. I do all the work I need to do, and then I quit. and I don't have to actually be there for 5. So I'm actually more efficient and I get more done.
Yeah.
All right.
You get paid just the same to do
I mean,
less.
there's
been saying
also
this.
something to say of like, honestly, like commuting is not free time. I don't know why commute is not like paid.
I
Right.
believe it should be paid, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
it needs to be
100%.
paid because like, I mean, that's technically part of your workday is going
Yeah.
to and from home.
I mean, some jobs do comp your gas. Like my job comps my gas, but like by comps my gas, I mean they give me like $40 a year. Yippee!
Yeah, like,
I live 40 minutes away.
so-
nigga.
$40 a year. That's all they give you.
Yeah.
At
Yep,
pretty much
yep.
any job where you'll like the jobs that I've worked at anyway,
I have a
where
great
there's
job,
multiple
guys.
locations
It's really cool.
for it sounds
I get
great,
paid,
honestly.
Yeah, I get paid just the right amount of money. You know, I get the proper amount of hours, all that stuff.
You definitely feel valued and engaged all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
working. Yeah, it's very creatively fulfilling.
Yeah.
I remember the
Sounds like
last time somebody said to me like, "What's your dream job?" And I was like, "I don't have a dream job because I don't dream of labor."
True.
So, like-
People have been saying this.
Yeah,
I feel like Cosmic has said the same sentence on like 3 different podcast episodes.
Yeah.
But
probably.
you know, I respect it honestly.
it
That's
barely.
like the
Dreaming
equivalent of me
labor?
being like, people who are good at things are bad people.
Yo, guys. So today we're
bring
gonna
that
talk
up,
about
Today we're going to
Today
talk
we're gonna
about
talk
big
about
streamers.
people that are awful.
like
So-
Doctor Disrespect.
I mean,
we already covered.
but my
that.
most recent. Here's the thing: is that my most recent activities kind of involved today's discussion. If you want me to segue it into that a little.
Sure, you
for
can
it.
segue.
Yeah, go for it.
So as you
can
guys,
sag. You can weigh.
okay,
You can weigh on the swags.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay,
3,
so
2, 1, go.
as you can see, I am no longer in the gnat-filled shoebox that was the apartment that I was in.
It's true.
Yo, shout
And
out
I have
to
now
shoe
moved-
boxes around
I
the
have
world.
now moved back home. And the last time that I actually lived in this room was when I was 3 years old. And I was
Oh.
sleeping up right there in a bunk bed.
Oh wow.
And
1,
the
2,
last
3,
time that
live.
I actually made this my like permanent resident, like I'm not up at college or doing anything,
Yeah.
that was almost 5 years ago now. And it's been very odd coming back and living here. And that's kind of our topic for today, is just seeing how time passes and things have changed and things like that. Because I have felt that a lot in the only 5 days that I've come back to live with my folks, which a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, you'll get back up. Like you'll find a job quick. And I'm like,
I'm all
oh,
right.
this is great. I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to do any of that. We're totally chilling. And I mean, my parents are fine with me staying
I
in
took
as
that a
long as
completely
I
different
get a
direction.
job. But yeah, and so I was thinking about that because this was actually my brother's room for most of our childhood. But when we were very, very young, we shared this room. And I still remember sitting around right here when my mom came in and was like, would you like to have your own room? And I was like,
No.
sure.
Hell yeah, I would.
And then all of a sudden my bed moved and I was like, oh wait, that's what this means? Like I'm getting a new room? Like I thought you meant like we're getting a new room at the house, not like I just move into a different room. But I mean, I don't know. So I feel a little bit sentimental about this room.
Yeah.
A lot has changed in this room. When I moved in, it smelled like,
Weed.
honest to God, the inside of an asshole.
Oh.
Because my
Well,
brother's just
weed.
not very clean.
Actually,
Wait, why do you
same
know what
thing.
that smells like?
Yeah.
That's my question. Hold on.
Wait, what?
I mean,
Why do you know what that smells like?
I know why I know what that smells like.
How many
but I don't know
assholes
why
have you been
would
in,
know
Cole?
that.
Answer.
So anyway,
yeah.
I mean,
We
you
have
know,
a problem when
so-
I asked the question that both of y'all incinerated. I'm just
so,
cutting
so when I came into this room, though, you know, I was expecting it. I mean, it's changed a lot, like just the decor on the wall and things like that. And I mean, you can't see it over here, but I have like this whole kind of setup of like my stereo and things like that.
I can see
You
it
know,
'cause
my
I have cameras in your
guitar
room.
and things like that. That's not funny.
So
Oh, you're welcome.
so
You'll find them
have
eventually.
So
Maybe.
how do you think that you have changed in tandem with this room, Cole?
He hasn't.
Well,
Never
I
changed,
went
never
through
adapt,
puberty.
never overcome.
I went through puberty. I weigh more now than when I lived in this room. But I mean, it's just in terms like I remember when I was younger and I remember when I was 3 years old and I thought I had life figured out. I was like, I have my best friend, you know, we're chilling out. Like, I'm excited for kindergarten. Like, we're so back. Like, that's what as 3 years old, I was like, I
You
figured it
said we're
out.
so back at 3 years old.
But I think the real
Bro
difference though,
popped
that I
out the
wanna bring
womb.
up,
Holy shit, we're so back.
So reincarnation is real. That's what I'm hearing.
right. Now, but the big difference though is that I did not really. I mean, I grew up in this room kind of from like basically infancy to kindergarten, but the real room where I grew up in is across the hall over there. And so that's where I stayed throughout elementary, middle, and high school. But, you know, moving back into here, my room became my dad's office because I was away at college. So, you know, I come back and I'm like, oh, where's my, like, this is weird. Like when I'd come back on Christmas and stuff like that, I'm like, we just got someone's computer here with a bunch of like engineering papers. Like, this does not look like my room. It should be filled with drawings and posters and dirty laundry and all sorts of fun stuff, you know, because I'm a lazy guy. But why are you holding your arm up?
I would love an explanation too.
For what? We were all just kind of doing it, but anyway.
I'm sorry. Anyway, I did not see that until later.
Group pointing begins now.
But
Not this bit.
Oh god.
Now I lost so when I decided to move back in, I'm sorry, this is probably so entertaining for people at home.
Yeah, I'm
But
really
when I decided to
entertained
move
right
back
now.
in, my parents are like, so do you want to move back into your old room or do you want to move into your brother's room? And I was like, I want to move back into my brother's room. Look at all this real estate I got. Are you kidding me? Like I could stand all the way back here.
Oh my god, he's standing.
And like this would be my wall. This is crazy, you know?
Guys,
Like, I
look
got
at
a
his
lot of room.
waist.
But it was weird. Well, actually, okay, so here's the thing.
Snatched.
Is so the last time I lived out of this house, I was 300 pounds. All right,
And now
Guys.
he's snatched.
get it together.
No longer
Stop! No! I hate it.
Slay.
snatched.
Honestly.
It's slay.
Slay.
But let me finish, please. For the love.
You're good. Yeah, keep going.
So now that I moved back in here again, I've thought about like what my life was like before I moved out and senior year. And, you know, I was 300 pounds. My hair was down to my shoulders. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. In fact, I thought I wasn't even going to complete college. Now I have a bachelor's degree in media production. And so much has changed for the better. One of my kind of mantras in life, as we personally have talked about before, I've never talked about it on the podcast, but I've always wanted to be the guy that everyone wishes they were. And so I remember in high school, when I lived in this house, in this other room, I'd be like, man, I wish I could lose the weight. I wish I could play the guitar. Like, I wish I could learn how to draw. Like, I wish I just was known for something a little bit more. And now that I've moved back in here, I'm like, wow, man, I have come so far since I've lived back in this house. And I feel like there's something really poetic and something symbolic about it. Just to get a little sentimental here. So it's interesting. And I don't know if you guys have felt the same way since all of us are now out of college, or, you know, when you go back to your home. I don't know if it might be a little different for me because I've lived in this house my whole life.
I mean, it might be
old as bricks.
It might be a little different from me, so I'll probably I would say that because I've spent so much time outside of my parents' home and I'm so far out of college that I might have a much different experience at this point than the rest of y'all. So I'll let Nestani or Jax kind of take the wheel if they have much to say.
Mine's kind of like its own whole topic, so I might just punt to Or I can go.
Okay, fine. I'll yap about nothing. I don't really have anything to say here because I have lived at my parents' house my entire life.
Well, that's true.
I don't really have much to offer of like literal like leaving, coming back. I mean, again, we're the king of giving me really broad topics, which I've.
What about what about how about just the idea of like look at yourself when you started, because you graduated what, like 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
Like think about like between like now and like when you recently just graduated, or like now and at the beginning of college, and I feel like I just look back and I'm like,
I mean,
dude,
for me
like,
at the beginning of college, it's interesting because I'm pretty much two different people. Because it was a 4-year expenditure, because I have 2 associate's degrees, right? But it took 4 years. And one of those I took off because of the vid, and and like before COVID, I was like super like outgoing, just like actually unhinged in real life, and then like afterwards I've been like very like fucking asshole is tight as hell whenever I go outside, which is not like kind of the opposite of what I used to be, and so that's an interesting observation to make. And then outside of that, I think the biggest thing from even when I graduated to now is just my confidence level in myself. I just feel a lot more like familiar, I guess, like with my own self, and just confident in general. And also I can film the pants off of shit now, which is cool, because I literally started like 2 years ago, really like a year and a half ago. I had no filming experience, nothing, dog shit. And then now I'm like actually kind of gross. And so I think it's just, I think the coolest thing for me is just like looking back at some of the earlier work that I did for my current job, and then comparing it to like work that I do like now. And it's just like, it's like kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't mean to still lament it. I feel like so many of us are maybe I'm just talking about myself especially. I feel like a couple of us are in periods of growth, and like change, like actively, is part of it too. And that's kind of, why I was hesitant on how to answer the question, because I feel like, and Sonny probably knows this more than anyone right now, but I am kind of at an impasse right now, and I'm looking at myself more critically, and like, because part of it is I'm having health issues, right? Yippee! But also part of it is I kind of need to start figuring out what it is I really want to start putting my energy into, and I think also because you were talking about not moving and like coming back to your own space is like, I think in some ways I lived with my family for a really long time, and I think for my situation specifically, it might have done not more harm than good, because obviously, like you said, like, oh, I don't have to pay rent, but it's like in my family specifically, my parents are anxious people, and they like to have control over things. Their way of managing their anxiety is solving the problem or taking control of the thing. And so in a lot of ways that has sort of morphed itself into if something is going wrong with me, they are going to be the ones to try to fix it. Not that I haven't tried to fix it myself, but it makes it kind of hard to be a fully independent person when you have these two people who are trying to
breathing down your neck.
Breathing down your neck, and and I don't hold any resentment to them for that, and I to a degree I get where they're coming from, because it's like they grew up with nothing, so they don't want that's where that mindset comes from of like, I don't ever want my child to have to go through that, but it's created different problems as well, right? So like, in a weird way, I'm kind of in a period of transition right now, if that makes sense. Like the big thing that I think has really been helping me is I'm living on my own somewhat permanently now. I'm still within distance to be able to visit my family quite regularly, and that's kind of a necessity because my dad is struggling with some mobility issues at the moment. But that being said, I think the distance has really helped. In a weird way, like I feel relieved when I go back home and realize I have somewhere I can go back and escape to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because some of that house is associated with not like trauma or bad memories, but I feel like in a lot of ways I was the sort of the glue that was holding our family together emotionally, if that makes sense. Not like in terms of
Financially
physically or what we did, because that's probably my dad, but it's like in terms of emotionally, I was kind of the one regulating the dynamic and mediating a lot. And I don't mind supporting people that way, but I think it now that I am away from that, I feel like it's giving them the opportunity to learn how to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And also probably just gives you more energy in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when if you saw when I'm the last couple of episodes, during July, I was really not fully 100% together. And that's because I was basically living with my family for the month, because that's something we do every year. That's just
bro was just dragging down the episode's energy.
Yeah.
Fucking
I was freaking
tanking
torching
it.
it.
Dragging us down to the ocean, dog.
Yeah, what a
You did
loser
not stream
Jaxler
though,
guy
pretty
is.
much.
Yeah.
You pretty much did not stream though. I did.
Yeah,
notice
no,
that.
I didn't stream at all. I barely played anything. And that's because when I'm around them and living with them, I'm kind of on, right? Like I have, part of it is making sure my dad doesn't it's like misunderstand or like
Break the
push
freak
people's
out.
buttons.
Oh.
Because when there's conflict, my dad likes to make jokes to try to resolve things, and that's not always what you want to hear, right? And then
Definitely
my
not.
mom is just a walking bundle of defense mechanisms. And then there's my brother, who, bless his heart, just doesn't know any better sometimes. And so it's like...
Guys, I figured out why Jax doesn't like me. I keep making jokes during serious topics.
I mean, there is precedent.
GROUP.
Yeah.
Y'all are not getting an explanation as to what that bit means, by the way.
It's inside baseball is staying inside.
Inside baseball
dude.
is staying inside this
Why do
week.
they say inside baseball? Like who was like, dude, baseball's cool. Let's put the word here, because baseball isn't cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when they have like little secret hand movements to say, "Hey, I'm gonna
throw a knuckle,
a loop-de-loop." Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We could say the inside joke's staying inside as well. That'll also work.
We could also
That's not
just
as cool.
stay inside.
Well, I mean,
no objections here.
what year is it? Oh, it's 2020.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're so it's rewind.
And then the
time.
question is, what are we staying inside of?
So, Jaxler, you have anything final?
Yeah, I
to
guess
say?
my thing is that, I think part of it is going back to my house now. It's just like there isn't really anything for me left there. If that, because well, for one, my brother moved out and he's living on his own, and that's been huge for him because now he's had to really grow up and mature, because that's been huge because that's improved things. But he, if I want to visit my brother, he's in another part of town, so I gotta go. So that's not home anymore, and basically the only thing I get to do when I'm at my mom and dad's place that I don't get to do here is talk to my mom and dad and spend time with them, which I love doing because I love the two of them. But it's
lame as hell.
But outside of that, I really don't. I don't really necessarily all my things are here. And it probably helps too that so much of what I like to spend doing my free time is online or doesn't require me to move very far.
Yeah.
So Like
Yeah.
tinkering with controllers or something like that doesn't really require me to leave my desk.
Yeah. I mean, what you've said, it kind of reminds, or it makes me think about like right now. I gotta say that one of the best things for me that I ever did was go to a school that was really, really far away. Because I was able to do it, but it taught me a lot. Like I feel like I grew significantly because I moved away. And that was one of my concerns about coming back here was like, am I going to get these bad habits again? Like I love my mom, but she loves to put delicious sugary foods in me. And I don't want to go back to that lifestyle where I would eat like a whole pack of Oreos in a night, you know, as beautiful as that can be.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, like those little.
Does anybody
those
remember?
mini
This
chocolate
is
donuts.
a giant off topic. Does anyone remember like Snackwells? They were like these like vanilla. They were like Oreos, but they were kind of like basically rectangles without the corners on them, and they were like vanilla. And they like
circles.
no, they're not circles. They're rectangles with rounded corners. If that's a circle to you, you are fucking stupid.
Get actually fucked.
You are a fucking moron if you think a rectangle with no corners is a square.
Yes, they do.
Or circle.
They do make.
Fuck! I hate
off-brand
you, and I hate
Oreos.
geometry, and I hate this podcast.
You said no corners instead of rounded corners at first.
You did. That, you know, he got you there.
I will, what's it called? I will group. Yeah, I will
You will group.
side with you on rounded corner rectangle is definitely not a circle.
Thank
However, you did say squares without the
rectangle.
corners on them. So there's that.
I'm
but yeah,
sorry.
to answer your
question directly-
I don't
To
really
answer
like
your
it.
question
like
directly,
that.
I have never heard of Snackwell.
Do you still eat them with milk? Like, what do you do?
No, they don't exist anymore. Like, I can't find them.
Oh,
It's really upsetting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. to hear
Snackwells,
that.
please sponsor us. Thanks.
Hashtag.
Fucking, I am going to storm Nabisco
cat.
headquarters and demand that they remake Nabisco Snackwell.
Dude, that's like I'm very picky about my bread in restaurants. Like if you got shitty bread at your restaurant, you can just get the fuck out of here.
True.
Like,
People have been
what are
saying
you
this.
doing?
Wow.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I used to go to this restaurant down the street from where I live. And I
what's the address? Dock yourself,
I
please.
loved their bread rolls. They were so buttery and so delicious. I wish I wanted to know the recipe. I wanted to know. And the worst part is probably something that they just put in a fucking freezer and then
Yeah.
they just shipped it to every location.
Yep.
Probably, yeah. There's a surprising amount
then
of
they-
like
yeah,
microwave use.
they
That's
they
like,
just
and frozen
microwaved
food
it.
use at
But you know,
restaurants.
so that place burned down from a grease fire. And I've never tasted anything so wonderful ever since. It's all been downhill from
Did you
there.
taste the grease fire?
Yep.
No.
Oh,
I would have dove in that fire to get those bread
to
rolls
get the
out of
buttery rolls, dude.
Oh, not the people that were in the building. You know, the rolls.
Cole's just
Nah,
like,
man,
no, anything but
I would
the
lock
rolls,
myself
dude.
in. Dude, I'd lock myself in the freezer. That'd probably save me. You know,
No.
really.
Definitely.
Why not? It's a freezer. It's cold. It's not like there's gonna be fire.
I knew he was gonna say
you
this.
freeze to death and die
I
of
knew
smoking
he was gonna
inhalation.
go there, dude.
What are you
I
talking
can protect
about?
myself from the hot hazard by being cold.
You do realize that you can like
Well, duh.
have a fire in the middle of winter. You know, that's
You also
You just need to
realize
have
the
something
bread
to
rolls
burn.
are not going to be in there, right? Like,
Yeah, but dude, listen.
He's gonna bomb
these-
shelter himself with the buttery rolls, dude. When to snack on him. He has a fire.
these will cushion
dude,
the blow.
If I ever got quit. No, dude, that'd be my final meal, 100%.
The Last Supper.
That would be
Freezing to death in a meat locker, eating frozen
Yeah.
buttered rolls.
And on the third day, he rose again with butter rolls in hand.
He rose again.
Don't you mean on the third day he rolls again?
He rolls again.
Roll.
No,
So-
dude, but anyway, go on. I have nothing else to say because I'll just talk about food for the rest of this podcast.
Guys, so for the
Totally
rest of this
alright.
podcast, we're gonna start talking about food.
I could talk about.
Hot
I could have
takes
a whole
on
That's like
episode
the
about
equivalent of
food,
talking
dude.
about Niagara Falls when you're in like a car
Yeah.
trip and like someone really has to piss. Like,
I need to order my
Flowing
French's
water.
mustard shirt so I can give my hot takes about mustard. It's
Oh,
the
and that
only
it
appropriate
sucks?
time. No, mustard's great. I don't know what you're talking about. I love mustard.
I don't.
Guys, I think we should kick Cosmic off the podcast.
People have been saying this.
Namely, all have been saying this. That's fair. I mean, they hated me for I spoke the truth, as the saying goes.
You did.
I think they
You've
just
never spoken
hate
the
you.
truth at all ever.
I think they just hate you.
You are a pathological liar. On like at every remark.
I think they just hate you, bro. I think it's
So-
over.
Moving on. Yeah, that's fair.
Oh wait, I didn't even
I
finish
really
my
like
thought.
that knocked
Yeah, you
loose
did.
song.
You just started
That's
talking
a-
about bread rolls, but I didn't
That's a
remember
good-
the
that's a
original
good
point,
knock
so I
loose
couldn't.
song.
Wait, what's a good knock loose song? Dead Ringer.
the whatever one
Thirst?
you imitated just now. Yeah.
So the Thirst, Dead Ringer, Blinding Faith, Oblivion's Peak. Like, there's a lot that we can choose from.
Yeah, this is the joke.
Audience, do you know what they're talking about? I have no idea what they're talking about.
Metalcore band.
Okay, anyway,
All right, so
I'm gonna get us
did
DMCA'd.
you- Do you have
Cole is about to
something
complete
that
his
you
thought.
wanted to jump off of? Okay, he's gonna jump off.
Yeah, I was
okay,
gonna
cool.
Yeah, he's
complete
gonna
my
jump off a
thought
cliff.
because
Hell yeah.
what I was talking about was like, am I gonna move home and then I'm gonna develop all these bad habits again? But
No, it's bad habit.
stop. Can I like comment? Like don't.
I don't know. I don't know how many times we're gonna do this bit of stun locking Cole, but like,
dude.
I'm
I
not even
literally.
trying. This is just me on a regular basis. This is just what I, do.
honestly-
That is true.
I feel like I'm in Smash Bros and my shield has broken, and then I wake up and my shield just breaks again.
what's interesting too is that, or what's so funny about it is that you're just like so locked in. It's like somebody like just playing their heart out on the violin, and then just Nestani comes in, just trumpeting away, dude.
Unskippable cutscene pops up.
Yeah.
He's like an unskippable 30-second ad on YouTube. Like it's
Hey guys, like and
God.
subscribe to the video. Anyway, Cole, go on with your story.
yeah. Let us know in the comments what you would like to hear Nestani sing next. But anyway, so I coming back home, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna get all these habits
God,
again?
am I gonna get fat?
And the answer is I don't know. But we'll figure it out. And I actually signed up for a gym membership already down here.
Oh, very
And
cool.
my first day was today, and they're trying to get me to buy a personal trainer, and I'm like, you think I got enough money
To buy a
buy
whole
personal-
human?
to buy?
Yeah.
a whole
Wait, hold on.
human
Why
being?
does this sound familiar?
Like, what is it? Are we? Hey, let's keep that an inside joke too. All
No,
right.
I think the people should know about the Animal Crossing saga.
No.
Well, it wasn't about Animal
Yeah,
Crossing.
I love Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is a fantastic game, and I think it's a shame what Nintendo did to it. That's what I say. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. Just like interesting lifestyle changes and things like that. And I feel like past me, if I was in this situation, I'd be actually freaking out like 24/7. Like I like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with because I have the opportunity now to kind of pick and choose what I want to do right now for like what kind of my career path is. I feel like past me would be like, oh my God, what do I do? Where do I start? But now I'm like, we're going to take it a day at a time and we're going to figure it out. And I bet by the end of the month, we're going to be locked into something and it's going to be fine. So,
How about you lock into some
or
bitch's
I'm just
dog?
all right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fine. Let's move on to whatever. What were you
Yeah,
going to
it's
say,
fine.
Cosmic?
I mean,
No,
I
it's
don't-
fine. It's fine.
I mean, I was gonna.
No,
say
yeah,
you
it's
can-
I
fine.
feel
It's
like-
fine. No, it's fine.
If we're
I
gonna
didn't
actually
say
get
that.
back
It's
to the
fine.
topic
No,
at
go
hand,
ahead, yeah.
I feel like Cosmic is gonna have a lot different of a perspective because he's like,
He's old.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been out of college for like 12 years now. And honestly, like I mean, I spent 26 years pretty much living with my parents. And that was all in the same house and everything, all in the same town. And I could probably never go back to living with them, even though I'm sure to some degree I wouldn't mind it, but I just have a lot more freedom where I am, and I definitely think I became
Not to be confused with the Rage Against the Machine song "Freedom."
true. It's a great song. So,
Like,
it's what's it?
It's not just you, Cole. I just want to let you know. Everyone
It's
gets
very.
their
It doesn't mean it. It's very
Okay,
easy
just because-
to see. Like, go ahead. You good?
no, I was just gonna say, just because you shoot more than one person doesn't mean it's okay to fire a gun. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, tell it to the fucking police officers. Anyway, go ahead, Cosmic.
True. So, it's very easy to see how much more of, I guess, myself I became, and it was a lot easier for me to, what's it called? Kind of just explore like more of the world, essentially, when I didn't feel like I had, like my parents are around all the time, or like whenever I leave my apartment now, like nobody's asking like, oh, where are you going? Not that they would ever stop me or anything once I was an adult, but
But they're sure yapping at you.
yeah, pretty much. And it's also one of those things where, what was I going to say? It's a tough thing to, it's a tough idea to go back to living under somebody else's roof and everything when, you've experienced, I guess, the level of just independence that it takes, but it also kind of forces you to make things happen for yourself. And unfortunately, when I was in my late 20s, because I had lived with my parents so long, and like on top of when I moved out with one of my exes, and then we broke up like 5 months later, or so. And while I was living with my parents, I was just kind of playing fighting games and going to tournaments and stuff. And I felt like I was a pretty stagnant person mostly. I didn't really, like, I had tried to get jobs in my field, but nothing really panned out. So I just kept working at Walgreens. And then, when I was with my ex, I was like, well, I really want to move out, and be with her and everything. So I ended up getting promoted at work, and then going to a store that was like 20 minutes from my parents' house. And then I moved out, and then it was 30 minutes away from me. So then after we break up, it becomes this thing where, like, because I'm essentially just recovering from the whiplash of now
Just
being out of a relationship. Yeah, good game. So now, because I'm recovering from the whiplash of being out of a relationship, I am stagnating again because I'm depressed,
Yeah.
and because now a lot of things that I had kind of counted on happening or wanted to happen while I was moved out were no longer happening. So instead of taking that opportunity and choosing to grow from it, I didn't really at all. I mean, I grew as a person on an intellectual level, and like in a sort of,
Not
what's it called?
height-wise, but yeah.
And like not height-wise, definitely not. Shout outs to everybody that's over 6 foot on this podcast, everybody but me. So because I grew intellectually, and I continued to compete in fighting games and stuff, and this was also when I was playing League, so clearly you can see where most of the depression came from. But what's it called?
Dude.
Trigger warning,
it
League
was
of
yeah, right. Trigger warning.
Your Honor?
Yeah, trigger warning.
Death.
Death.
So it was one of those things where I ended up being at this store that was 30 minutes from my house, where I wasn't really happy with who my boss was for like 5 years, and I kept thinking to myself like, oh, it'll get better. I'm just waiting around for good shit to happen to me or whatever. Which, spoilers for anybody that's in their late 20s, don't do that. Go and make things happen. So in like 2019, my boss was like, well, I have to send, another manager to this other store permanently because we have too many and they're missing one. And I was like, well, it makes the most sense to send me because it would actually be a closer drive for me, whereas for everybody else that she could send, it would make it a further drive from them. So logistically, it made more sense for me to do that. I ended up liking that store a lot, and I was feeling like real good, about being there. And then, that was the same year, like right after that, I went to GDQ and I was having a great time, and I was like, man, when I come back, like I might really start making some moves and everything. And and doing some shit. And then we all know what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
And so during that time, couldn't really do anything. So I decided to work on streaming stuff. And then this was the big one too. This was another big one, was that like in 2020-ish, like end of 2020, I think, I actually got shipped off to a store because there were no assistant managers anymore in the district. In a crate. So there were no assistant managers anymore in the district. And I was the next best thing, essentially, because I was like one of the more knowledgeable like shift leads or whatever. And then I was apparently on track to be an assistant manager, and then the company pulled that position and then like split it basically into 3 different positions and shit. And
wow,
you know, I ended up having to go with a lateral promotion. And at that point I realized lateral movement. So at that point I realized that I was like, there's no future at this company for me. And let me tell you, like when I was there for another year and a half or so. And I ended up being in like another relationship during that time.
Cringe.
And between the like that other relationship, which was like started as a situationship and then turned into a relationship, and then it was nothing. Between that and realizing that, yeah, the guy that invented zero, thanks for nothing. So between that and realizing
Shouts to the
that
nothing phones.
my my time at the company was pretty much over. It was very much like a reset period for me, and it was very, I guess, what's it called? It's just depressing, really. It's just sad to think about how much time I felt that I had wasted. And so a lot of my time outside of my parents' house there's been a lot of good days. I won't, don't get me wrong or anything, but there's been a lot of time where I felt like while I'm learning about myself and while I'm growing, I've realized that like I needed to stop sitting around. I realized that as a person, I was pretty complacent a lot of the time, and that was a lot of my 20s, was being complacent about who I was. And entering my 30s, it was like that was a big thing, was I needed to not be that way. And I mean, even into the first couple of years of my 30s, it was like that, although I was trying to make changes. And then finally, when I was 32, I ended up going through a career change. And then recently, when I felt like I was kind of wronged or slighted, for a little bit anyway, at my last job, I went and just got a new job.
Whereas before, everyone at
I don't think that's what happened.
That didn't happen. Whereas before, allegedly. I feel like I got a couple of grenade launchers stored somewhere, I'm sure. Just like
hey, somewhere. FBI, so, this guy has a bomb. He has a bomb.
For legal reasons, this
bomb
is a joke.
Planted. So, yeah, he's also making his way to an airport right now.
Right now, as I'm sitting in this chair, I'm making my way to an airport.
Making his way downtown, walking.
Not walking fast, walking slow, because he's got a bomb in his bag.
Depends on how heavy the bomb is. So, which it's not.
This is a stupid bit. I'm sorry.
And it's not heavy because there's not one in there, allegedly.
Allegedly. So, this was a big turning point for me really recently, because I feel like if I were me in my 20s, I wouldn't have done this. I kind of would have just taken it on the chin and just gone to this, place at my work that I didn't like and just kind of been like, well, I guess I got to do this now, because that's what I did for 5+ years, essentially, because after I went to that store and then I had broken up with my ex, I was like, why am I even in this position? Or my ex broke up with me, I should say.
Break up with your girlfriend.
It's like, why am I even here? And then when the assistant manager position got ripped out from under me, I was like, why am I even here again? And, before I know it, there's 13 years of my life, essentially, or I guess 11 after college, that are just gone. And I spent most of it doing
Gone with the Wind, the movie.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Gone with the Wind, the song by Architects.
No. This can kind of be a general question for everybody too. Well, actually, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, I lost one of them. But the one question I wanted to ask you. Oh, actually, this first thing was a mark. Sorry, my thoughts are all over the place. I have to say, I I really respect the fact that as much shit as we say, like, you're old, like, you're obviously like not. And anybody who's in their 30s listening to this, like, I've heard a lot of people talk about, like, who are in their 30s where, like, I feel like if they were possibly in, or actually I've heard people who are in worse situations, like, they kind of just give up. They're like, oh, I'm not in my 20s anymore, so I can't do anything now.
Yeah. I mean, for me at this point,
like,
it's like
the opportunities are over. But it's like, no, they're not.
Yeah. For me, my 30s has basically just been like my 20s, but with more money and essentially like just making things actually happen. So, I mean, like, even this job that I'm currently at, you know, like, I'm constantly just going to be taking stock of like where I'm at and making sure that I'm not getting complacent again. And like, I started exercising recently again too, because like I had gained a bunch of weight while I was at my other job, my old job. And like, you know, I was up to like an XL in like dress shirts or whatever. And I was up like a few pant sizes as well. But then I went to go and buy dress shirts for the current job that I'm at, and I moved back down to an L. So I was like, dope.
You got this L.
That's awesome.
I did catch the L. No X.
The only good L.
Because fuck Twitter.
So the other...
True.
Oh, wait, were you...
True.
People have been saying this.
True. So
did you have more to that thought?
I mean, it was one of those things where, like, again, you know, in learning a lot about myself, I had to learn a lot of things that I didn't really like. And I think that being in my parents' house, I'm not sure if I would have learned those in the amount of time that I did. You know, I like imagine if I were still living with my parents until I was 30. Not that I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that, because at the stage that the economy is at right now, you know, like on paper, I think it's technically good, but it's hard to justify that when you go to when you log on to look at, you know, housing prices, and it's like, this is $500,000 for something stupid, you know, or whatever. Yeah, toothbrush and yeah, exactly. Or like, you know, the housing market is garbage right now. So, and rent market is garbage too. Like, my rent is only as good as it is because my roommate and I have been at this location for like 7 years, and you know, like, if we were to be new tenants now, our rent would be $600 higher than it is. So it's like
really
garbage.
Cool.
Very, very garbage and very cool and really awesome. It rules. But that aside, again, you know, it's one of those things where the situation just sort of forces you to learn about yourself. And there can be a feeling of being trapped when you're out of it long enough and you feel like you don't have a lot of options, because one of the reasons I felt like I should have been at Walgreens so long was because I wanted to have another job before moving on, and I would interview at places and then nothing would come of it, you know, and I didn't want to, you cannot like I felt like I could not quit without having something else lined up because shit was not panning out. So a lot of people probably tend to feel that way. But this is why living with your parents can be a good idea, because you have the freedom to not necessarily be employed and really take the time to work on your resume and figure out what you want to apply to, and not necessarily be tied up working while you're trying to find interviews. Like the couple of weeks that I was interviewing and like filling out applications and stuff, I had to do that either, you know, after work, and one of the interviews I went on was during my lunch break. So it was like, it was just a lot for those few weeks. And I was just like moving and pushing like real hard. And there were just days where like I just come home and I'm just like, man, fuck this shit, you know? Because like then you have to go home and you have to make dinner and you have to decide if you want to participate in your hobbies. And if you don't participate in your hobbies, then like you just got to go back to work in the morning and shit like that. Right? And it's like, cool, fucking sick. And like you can do things to kind of alleviate that. Like this whole fucking PS2 bookshelf behind me is like retail therapy, essentially, to help me get through the fucking days, you know, where shit ain't fucking sweet. But at the same time, like if I didn't have this thing, I wouldn't understand how passionate I was about like playing 6th gen games and understanding them and talking, you know, to people about them. So there's a lot you can learn, either like, you know, by way of trying to cope with stuff or just by making shit happen. So it's been a hell of a ride. I'll say that. It's been a hell of a ride being out of my parents' house. Again, I don't really think I could go back just because there's a lot of freedom out here. So
yeah. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my biggest reason why I don't move out, because I know as soon as I move out, I will want to
You're
stay
not gonna
out.
want to come back.
Yeah, I'm never gonna want to come back, which is why I'm just like, I'm just gonna Stockholm syndrome myself until until it's time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things now, I think, where since it's a lot more accepted, you know, to be at home for so long, you can really just, for lack of a better term, get your bag up, and then you can move out after you've kind of just secured a lot, you know, financially.
Yeah.
And then
I don't have a bag.
You're
though.
gonna, you gotta
My shit's ass.
I wasn't gonna say you don't have a bag, you have like a satchel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Damn.
Cole, you were gonna ask a question.
Yeah.
Though.
This is a question mainly for Cosmic, just because he's laid out this history, but also for you guys as well. Like, when you look back at all that stuff of like the mistakes he did or things like that, you know, you hear people say like, oh, you know, if I had the choice to go back in time and redo it all, like I would never. Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like that you're like, just not the word glad, but like, do you feel like that, like, would you want to go back in time and change what you did? Or do you think that was important for making you who you are today? Or, I mean, I guess it's kind of an unfair
My
question
answer's
to
complicated,
ask.
so go ahead.
I mean, the honest question really is just that, like, you know, if you told me, hey, waste 10 years of your life being at Walgreens or find something else, you know, or like stay at your parents' house and find something a little bit better instead of staying there for another however many fucking years, I would probably tell you, yeah, I'd like to change that, because maybe I could have been, you know, a little closer to who I am now without having it take as long as it did. Now, I wouldn't have some of the experiences that I did, and I wouldn't have met some of the people that I did along the way, but I would be lying if I said, you know, like, I didn't think that those things were at least a little replaceable. You know, and not to obviously discount the people that, or not to demean the people that I've met during that time, but in terms of like actually leading a fulfilling life, there are sometimes sacrifices that you just have to make. You know, you can go on the theoretical of there's somebody that you didn't meet by a choice you didn't make before, you know. So what is it to say that necessarily the person you could have met by making the opposite choice is less or more valuable than the person you did meet by making the choice that you did during your life? So it is one of those choices. But, you know, if I could have 8 years of my life, or at least 5 years of my life back, not working at a store that it was 30 minutes from my house that I didn't fucking like, yeah, I would probably take that.
Okay. That just, it came up for me recently is, my dad is a very big fan of Star Trek. And there's this episode that he showed me today that's called Tapestry. And it's basically like Captain Picard, like he just has the opportunity. Okay. Yeah, it's Next Generation. And I mean, I don't watch Star Trek that much, but it was basically like he could go back in time and actually do that. So, and what he thought were mistakes were actually key components about him eventually becoming like a top commander or whatever. Yeah. So then he actually wants to make all those mistakes and terrible things happen to him, so then he can get back to the life that he had and that he was comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to kind of cut in here, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The problem, I think, with sentiments like that is that it does just romanticize suffering. Yeah. And, you know, again, it's one of those things where we could see them as mistakes, we could see them as key components of ourself. But, I mean, the turning point for me really was not like a ton of these introspective discoveries that I made. In terms of my career change anyway, it was me going to one of my friends and saying, hey, when I finally saying to him, you know, hey, when they hire when there's an opening at your job, let me know, I'll apply. And then if you could, you know, give me a recommendation, that'd be cool. And that's what he did. And that's how I got that other job that I had. And now, like, my life is objectively better. If I had done that 4 or 5 years sooner, you know,
Yeah.
if I think that my life is objectively better now, it could have been objectively better 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. The term romanticizing suffering is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I think it's used
'Cause
a lot in terms of art too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's necessarily a bad thing though, because sometimes I think it's sort of like it's a coping mechanism to me at least.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
There's give
a lot of
take,
layers
right?
to it.
It's complex.
Yeah, because I mean, on like one hand, right? You know, there's like Vincent Van Gogh, where it's like, yeah, he could have just not cut his ear off.
Vincent Van Gogh to the polls.
So he could have just either, you know, not cut his ear off, or there was like, you know, what's it called, like Edgar Allan Poe, for example. You
Marrying
know,
his cousin.
Edgar Allan Poe.
You know, yeah, there's that too. Yeah, he could have just not married his cousin. That would have been swell.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan.
Bro just could not. Dude, bro could just not help himself.
Edgar
His cousin,
Alabama Poe, more like.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sheesh.
But
More like Edgar Allan Wrench.
So just to build on top of it.
Because he's a
Like an
tool, I
Allen
got it.
wrench?
Okay.
Then you
Yeah,
don't
'cause
know
he's
what
a
an
tool.
Allen wrench is, dog?
Yeah, but I like Edgar Allan Poe. But anyway, as you were saying, Jax.
Yeah, I just have a bit of a different perspective on this because, you know, I didn't have there were in some ways I did not have the same level of agency, you know, if that makes sense, because the technology that allows me to sort of live the life I am without is like it did not exist back then, if
That's
that makes
fair.
sense. So
Totally
just as a quick to explain what that is for my type 1 diabetes, basically what ended up making happen is that the automated system that tells me what my blood sugar is now talks to my insulin pump, which gives me the meds, which means it can, instead of me having to manage all the micro and macro of that, the devices talk to each other, and that handles a lot of the math for me. And so because of that, my diabetes like treatment has improved dramatically because, you know, the tech is doing a better job managing it than I could, right? And so because of that, and because of how, you know, I talk about how bad having diabetes is, like, even now. Back then, like, you know, it was to the point where I kind of was not expecting to make it past 25. You can argue with me and tell me that I was probably wrong. I probably was. But that was kind of the mentality I was in. And, like,
Yeah.
you know, that didn't change until I was given technology that kind of gave me a new lease on life. And, you know, it in some ways, having that experience, like, it let me get a lot done. Like, you know, especially in terms of like speed running, you know, I got through college, you know, because when you feel like your time is running out, it becomes really easy to sort of focus in and hone in on stuff like that, right? And honestly, in some ways, I'm kind of glad that happened, because I don't know if I would have done half of the things without, you know, self-inflicted or not, without having that mentality. But it also kind of came at the cost of some relationships as well, because I felt like in order to really lock in, I had to blot out everything else. And that included a lot of, like, you know, friendships and relationships. You know, you said something to the effect of, like, you know, going to school far away from home to, like, and that really helped you grow. I had a very similar thing where I went to school in New York despite growing up in Indiana. And I think that was, like, a really big part of it too, is, like, that combined with, like, the, you know, this unique, and my situation is very not standard, right? So, like, take what I say with a grain of salt. But, like, I feel like, you know,
I think that too, to some degree, right? Everybody kind of has their cutoff point, right?
yeah,
Like, everybody has that point where, like, from up till that point, there's things that, you know, foundationally probably are just you. And then there's layers of gray that unfold from that point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that I would
confused with
take
50 Shades of Gray.
gray, yeah, or as Bring Me the
I
Horizon.
don't think anyone's confusing it with that. We're talking about an asexual here.
Just to Bring Me the Horizon, the band.
So
Just to
I don't think
No shadow.
I don't think that I would redo, like, up through high school. Right.
I never want to relive high school.
Because while I
school fucking
think I made a lot
sucked.
of mistakes through
high
high
school
school,
did
and I
suck.
don't think I was pretty closed-minded in high school as well. But like,
Yeah, he hated black people in high school.
no, I was pretty homophobic. in
Yeah,
high
I'm not
school,
surprised. Cosmo's a
not
terrible
surprised.
racist.
Yeah. He's been a known racist for the most time. We've been trying to get him banned from DDQ forever. Speaking of GDQ,
I don't know if we can talk about that.
All right, so
I don't know if we should talk about that.
hold
Anyway.
it down. Hold it down.
pivot tippers incoming.
So I don't think I would take that back
Group
because there are
masturbation.
just like there are like foundationally things up through 21 that like the mistakes that I made ended up having to.
Shut up! God damn it!
You're banned from watching Simply, dude. Like you're straight up just not allowed anymore.
We gotta cut you off at the tab, bro.
Bro needs like a
Yeah,
24-hour deficit from
Oh my
Simply
god!
before
Can
we
I'm
somebody
actually just
fucking
gonna-
throw a brick
I'm
in this
just
guy's
gonna
window? Jesus Christ!
I'm gonna hacker man into his shit, dude, and just change the fucking Simply stream.
Someone
Every time
red
he
ring
pulls
is
it up,
360.
I'm just gonna change it, dude. Just gonna change it. He's gonna be watching Linkus 7 for the rest of his life.
Oh, that's a fate worse than that. Not the Zelda runner. I'm joking.
I like Linkus
is
though.
cool. Yeah, I know. I'm
honestly.
joking. Linkus
Yeah,
is cool.
Linkus is a pretty alright dude. Yeah.
It's also Wind Waker, so it's like.
I like some of the
pretty
Linkus.
alright.
Nah, I don't.
does he
like,
know about
it's fine. I think Wind Waker is turbo overrated.
That was such a big stretch, Nestani. What is happening in the last
I can do another big
moment?
stretch.
I was not. Your camera froze on my end for a sec. I was very scared about what I was about to see on the next frame that popped in.
Audio listeners, I pulled my cock out.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Masturbation begins now.
I feel
my
like we've
God.
lost the plot.
I think
at
we
this
lost the
point.
plot. You
We
know
lost
what?
the plot. Yep.
How about you?
I mean, I'm down to just keep shitting on Wind Waker because I think that game is.
I don't think
Not
it's a
nearly as
cool
good as-
run though. Like,
Oh
I
no,
don't
the
think-
run's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about as like a casual experience.
I
I
never
think.
played it
Casual
casually, dude.
game, it sucks.
I've
Yes.
never played that
What?
game casually.
Yes.
I think it's kind of like every other Zelda, like 3D Zelda thing.
Well, every
Except
Zelda
the
game
ending is
sucks,
stupid with the
so-
Triforce like stuff.
There's
like,
that,
all
but it's
Triforce
also
bad
game
just-
games.
franchise, and people who like it should feel bad.
That's that.
Alright,
You know,
we're
that's
gonna-
also fair. But I just feel like
what?
I feel like with Wind
What?
Waker, it's like I'm ignoring Nestani. I feel like with regards to Wind Waker, it's just like
You know, how many times can you
I
wake
wa-
up to
like
the wind? you
the
know?
good parts of it I wanted more of, and there just weren't. Like some of the
What are
dungeons
the-
were really good in Wind Waker, for example.
Okay.
I'm a person when I play a Zelda game, like dungeons and like going through all that is like
Not to
kind of my
confuse with
favorite
sex
part.
dungeons.
So you hated
Oh.
Breath of the Wild?
I honestly didn't treat Breath of the Wild like a Zelda game, but that's like a whole nother.
I never
kinda-
played Breath of the Wild. I will probably never.
But like
play
you also
Breath
had
of
the
the Wild.
shrine.
I've never breathed
And
air
like
in
those
the
were
wild.
mini dungeons.
I guess
and
okay, yeah, there's shrines. I
And
guess I'm
the
just
freaking
thinking of
divine
like-
beasts were like the coolest dungeons I have ever seen in a Zelda game. So it's like, but then again, like I have not been able to get back into Tears of the Kingdom. But that's like a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I've never
Because
played that.
You can
I don't.
back
I
it
don't
up
want to
on
play
Tears of the
Roblox. I want to play
Kingdom,
Zelda.
Yo, anyone want
I
to play
don't
Dress
wanna
to
play-
Impress Roblox?
I'm gonna
I want to
fucking
play
shoot
Gary's
myself.
mod, dude. Let's play Gary's mod.
Yeah, the Gary's mod is probably more appropriate. But I don't know.
Not to
In terms of like
confuse with
Zelda
Gary
games,
Payton,
I
the
like my
basketball
Zelda
player.
dungeons. That's why I think that's why I like Twilight Princess so much. Is there's a ton of them, and they're
Twilight
all
Princess is
really
my
good
favorite.
for the most part.
I love Twilight Princess.
Karthik
great
wants to go to the Twilight Zone right now.
Zelda's so pretty in that game.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
You know who else is
that
pretty?
explains a lot about you,
Midna?
Cole.
Dude, Midna. Oh my gosh, the final form of Midna. Oh my gosh, dude, she could beat me up.
You know who else is pretty?
The
Whoever
viewers
likes and subscribes
subscribe to the podcast.
to the podcast.
Yep.
What's your favorite Zelda game? Tell us in the
So-
comments.
yeah.
Which Zelda character would you do group masturbation?
Oh, dude.
G-R-O-U-P.
Definitely the
Truly a
Gorons.
link to the past.
I
That
actually,
is this episode. Oh my god, dude.
I have
that's
not
actually
played
hype.
that. That's like the one major Zelda I have not played.
I haven't played
It's
a single
okay.
Zelda game
I actually want to replay it.
because they're all bad.
I don't know if you'd
play it
fuck with
after
them,
this
Sonny,
podcast.
honestly.
This
Like,
episode is now
especially
titled
because you
Group
don't like playing games
Masturbation, a
casually
link
at
to the
all.
I mean, I
past.
stuck
And,
with
like-
Zelda. She's hot.
No, I mean the games. I mean,
Oh. Isn't Zelda
which Zelda though, Nestani? Because like
Yes.
Zelda's a child in some of those games.
She's getting her second own game.
Maybe not yes. Maybe no for that one.
Maybe no.
And
No
choose
to
your
Jane.
next answer very carefully.
Smash Zelda, because I would smash Zelda in Smash.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. Bye.
Abort!